You're listening to Crime Uncovered.
Welcome back to Crime Uncovered. I'm your host, Sam Britt. Thanks so much for tuning in. As you guys know, Crime Uncovered is a podcast all about crime. I will tackle the most compelling and newsworthy events happening in the criminal justice system and have guests each show to give their take on what's going on in the field. It feels good to be back in the studio. Joining me on this episode of Crime Uncovered via phone call, Chris Sanchez. He is the current security for high net worth families and individuals, and the former special agent for Secret Service. He is also the vice president of Torchstone Global. So thank you for joining me, Chris. I appreciate it.
You got it, Sam. I appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Of course, yeah. So let's go back to the beginning for a second. I'd love to learn more about your background. And so was there a distinct moment that made you start traveling down your career path in the criminal justice and security field?
Yeah, you know what? I really actually started looking at the Secret Service and federal agencies probably back in high school. I think that's when I really had started having the mindset of going the criminal justice path and wanted to kind of serve, not only the community, but, serve in a federal capacity. And then growing up, my dad was a local firefighter for the city of Houston. And, I was always kind of in that firefighter, police, first responder mode growing up. And so it kind of stuck with me. And then, again, once I got into high school, I started really looking into what I wanted to do. And, kind of looked at different agencies, different police departments, the avenues I wanted to take. And I knew that if I wanted to go federal, the only agency I really wanted to join was the Secret Service.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That makes total sense. And you're currently the security for high net worth families and individuals, as I said before. And my understanding is that whenever they are in your area or things like that, you're their guy. Is that one of the more high pressure jobs that you have had or that you have now?
Yeah. So technically, with me being in the position I am with Torchstone, my main job is business development for Torchstone. So I actually go out and look for clients, generate revenue for the company. Because of my background with the Secret Service, I'm also operational. So I have a kind of a dual role with the company.
Right.
So when we have high net worth individuals, high net worth families that we work with, which, currently we have a very high net worth family that we work with on the West Coast, I'm operational with that family, especially for the more complex trips, the higher threat trips. We do have a full team that's on the family 24/7, but I help out and I supplement that team with the bigger trips. Just because of the background that I have and the knowledge that I have, it helps out with the more complicated visits that they may have normally.
Right. Okay, so do you get to travel a lot with that job? You mentioned going back and forth kind of.
Yeah, I do travel a lot. Some of our other clients, and this is one of the clients I can talk about. We have the LPGA, the Ladies Professional Golf Association, and again, because of my background, they put me on the rotation for the tournaments globally. There's usually between 30 and 32 tournaments a year. There's 4 of us within Torchstone that handle the security for the ladies and the caddies and the staff. And in a nutshell, what we do is we'll go to each tournament. We'll liaison with the operations team as well as local security and local police, make sure that there's a plan in place, an emergency action plan, a security plan in place. And then once tournament play starts, our main focus is the protection and the safety of players, caddies, and staff. And we work with local police and local security to make sure that the fans, the pedestrians, everyone else is safe when they're visiting the tournament and watching their players play.
Okay. Do you ever get to really experience a place? Like, is there ever like a note where like, oh, I want to come back here for leisure, not necessarily for work? Like you said.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do visit some very nice places. And yeah, there's times where I'm like, okay, I got to remember this spot, and it'd be a great place to come visit
Right,
for vacation.
right. All right, yeah, that's awesome. So what does it mean to be security for some of the most famous people in the world, and what are the ways that you have that profession has impacted you?
Yeah, you know what? I'll go back to my Secret Service days. It helped me when I was an agent. Um, I spent time on the President's Detail. I spent 5 years on the President's Detail during my time with the Secret Service, and so doing that actually helped kind of mold what I'm able to do now, just for the simple fact that you're not only protecting probably the most powerful person, family, president,
Right,
and his family in the world, but you're protecting heads of state and their families as well as they come into the United States. And so that training, that kind of mentorship that I had there, the experience that I had there, I kind of taken that role or that mentality and brought it over to the private sector. And so dealing with high net worth families and individuals and what we do with them, as well as the LPGA and some of our other clients, I kind of incorporate that mindset because it was such a strict role, a strict operational mindset that we had. I just transitioned over, and the clients that we have actually like the way that we perform and how we perform that because we incorporate some of the stuff that we did in the Secret Service in the private sector, and they
right.
see that there's a big difference.
Okay. Um, I assume you probably don't get to share that info with a lot of other people, um, or at least the details of it. So do you really keep like a low profile when it comes to that point, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, usually when I talk to other people, especially when I'm traveling on planes, hotels, when I meet other people, I'm always the vice president of business development for Torchstone.
Okay.
I don't touch into what we do, how we do things, or anything like that. That's my introduction to people, and I kind of leave it at that. Now, if it gets to a deeper conversation, I'm always cautious about what I say because with a lot of our clients, we do have non-disclosure agreements, and we're not able to, divulge any information of what we do or who we work with. And so I kind of keep it very vague and just kind of keep the description of my job as that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and kind of touching on that same subject, I'm sure you kind of have to keep your head on a swivel, like 24/7. So how do you and your team get on the same page when covering a detail, whether it be, some of the people you represent now or in the past?
Yeah. So, again, I go back to the mindset and the teachings of the Secret Service, and it really comes down to advance work and then also briefings. And that's kind of the secret sauce of the Secret Service is how we're taught and how we do our advance work. And how we brief not only the shift but supervisors, second supervisors that are traveling with us, and as well as supervisors back in DC that are be traveling with our protectees. So we kind of you keep that same mindset, especially in the private sector with the shift and the executive protection agents that we have. We always have an advanced person. A person does an assessment of where we're going. Once
Right.
that assessment's complete, the day before trip, he calls in or she calls in. They'll brief the shift or the person that's traveling with our high net worth individuals so that person knows what they're walking into, to include not only the sites and the physical sites that we're going to, the transportation modes that we're going to be taking, but also the intelligence, the threat intelligence, if there's any. And so that way, that executive protection person has a picture of some sort before he hits the ground, and they're aware of what needs to be done. Where certain dangers may be, or if we're just head straight to the hotel and we're down for the night. He knows
Okay.
that. Okay, we're on this for 10 minutes, a 10-minute operational movement, and then we're done for the day.
Okay. So there's a system for you and for your client.
Yes.
Okay, got it. As a part of that, are there any red flags that you kind of see on the job that you can talk about? I mean, I'm assuming that those kind of red flags pop up in the moment, but are there any that you can think of now that you're able to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, with a lot of our bigger clients, the social media threats that we encounter, because we have our own global security operations center, our own intelligence team. So a lot of the threat intel, if you will, that we get with our higher profile clients, it's, that's something that we really take to heart. And we've had incidences where, there's been, you know, without divulging too much, because if I did say what that red flag was, it would
Sure.
give a pretty good indication of who the client was. But we've had some severe threats to our clients that we have to take seriously, to where we've alerted not only local law enforcement but federal agencies to the different locations that we're going to, just to get a deeper dive into the threat intel, and also ask for any type of extra presence if we are able to get that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so it seems like, uh, from some of the previous answers, it's like this profession is, almost nonstop. Is there ever a boring and, time or a time consuming part? And if so, what's the most boring part of the job?
100% Sam, and everyone will say this: it's the admin and paperwork.
Okay.
Once you get done with the assignment, or whatever you're assigned to, or whatever we have going on trip wise, or if it's like I said, one of the golf tournaments around the world or whatnot, it's always coming back and doing the paperwork and the admin and the write ups
Sure.
that are probably the part that everyone would probably think is the boring part of it.
Right. But I mean, I assume it's necessary.
Absolutely, it is necessary. Now, there's times where you're on an assignment and you may have some very slow days, or long down periods, which there's certain times where you have to kind of keep yourself entertained, and keep yourself going, to make sure that you're 100% operational. But yeah, if it's the admin stuff that usually puts everybody in the damper.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and it seems like with a lot of those, with a lot of that paperwork, and even though that is some of the most uneventful stuff, it seems like it still requires a lot of trust. So clearly, these roles indicate that people trust you and trust you with their lives. So how do you gain that type of trust?
It's when the cycle, probably, especially in the private sector, when you're on the federal side, with the agency, with the Secret Service, it the trust is automatic. I would say automatically there, just because you've been vetted, you're hired by the government, you've gone through the process, you've been through selection school to get on the president's detail or the vice president's detail. So there's that certain initial trust, and then it goes into a personal trust, I guess, per the protectee, whether it's POTUS, FLOTUS, or the kids. And
Uh-huh.
if they have kids, if the president has younger ones, in office, or whatever age they are. So there's that initial professional trust, but then there's a personal trust. When you get into the private sector, it has to happen very quickly, a lot quicker than it does on the federal side. And what I mean by that is, when you have an initial meeting with the high net worth individual's executive assistant, and you're having discussions on what you can provide and what your capabilities are, and then 2 to 3 weeks later, once you get that call and say, okay, we want to hire you and your team, are you ready to start? And you start. Well, your first day may be the first time that you meet your protectee, and that trust has to be instantaneous.
Okay.
The professionalism, how you operate, how you act, it starts right then and there.
Right.
And it's not like the grace period you would have on the federal side. It happens very, very fast.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, I since I go to VCU and I'm a mass communication student, we talk a lot about ethics in our class. However, when I see paparazzi in action, I'm kind of amazed at how inconsiderate they can be. And I don't know if you've experienced this as well, but could you talk about some of the press and it being a factor in your job today?
It's a huge factor in my job today, especially with one of the main clients that we have. We
Right.
have paparazzi all over the place, everywhere we go.
Okay.
It's the way I look at this and the way I approach paparazzi. Each company or each person has their own way of handling it. I look at them, I go, my thought process, like, I have a job to do. Those guys actually have a job to do.
Right.
They're contractors for whatever magazine or whatever. They're trying to get the shot. They're trying to get paid. They're trying to feed their family as well, or pay the rent as well. So I look at it from that standpoint. So whenever I have to deal with paparazzi, whether it's in a press pen or in a containment area, or if they're trying to rush the limo, which we had this incident one time when I was in another city doing a movement. I'll get out of the car, put myself in between the protectee and the paparazzi.
Right.
And I just let them know. I go, guys, I know you're doing your job, but give us a little space. Watch your feet. The cars are moving. Just be careful. And automatically there's a respect. There's an understanding, and they backed off. So it's really how you talk to these guys. They're going to do their thing. They're going to try to do whatever they need to do to get the shot. You have to do what you need to do to get your protectee safely in and out from the car to the site, back out to the car.
Right.
And it comes, like I said, it comes with discussion, talking to these guys, and just being professional.
Yeah.
And I think once they see that and you're showing professionalism, it does change the narrative and changes the mindset of a lot of people.
Did you ever have like a client pop off on a paparazzi, or was
No,
there?
I have not, which
Thankfully.
is good.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Which we've always had, and that's some of the discussions. Again, that goes back to briefings. One of the things that we brief about whenever we have our protectees, in different cities and we're doing movements, I always come and brief the protectee.
Okay.
And, like, this is what time we're leaving. This is the route we're going. This is where we're heading to. This is the arrival. We do expect people to be at arrival. It is contained. Just walking through the whole process with them.
Sure.
So they know that, okay, it's secure. It makes them feel better. And it also helps me to walk through the site verbally as well in
Right.
case I've missed something.
Okay. Yeah. So you spoke a little bit about Torchstone Global and its mission, and you being the vice president. Can you tell us more about what it is and how the process works when someone wants your services?
Yeah, it just varies. I mean, a lot of times I'm going to be partial because I am working with Torchstone and we have a very, very good reputation.
Right.
A lot of the work we get is by word of mouth, which is kind of what you want in this industry.
Sure.
We have a very good reputation, and like I said, a lot of work comes from word of mouth. There are times that we actively go and market what we do, whether it's in conferences or, cold call scenarios. We market what we do, how we do things. And then every once in a while, we'll just get a random call to our answering service, requesting our services. And we've received a few clients that way as well. But there's no set standard, I guess, if you will.
Uh-huh.
It comes from all different types of directions, and the one thing I think that we do very well is we're very honest with our clients, meaning that if they come to us and say, "Hey, we want this, this, and this, and if we can do it, great. We'll let them know what we can do. We can do this, this, and this." But we're also very honest. If they ask for a certain capability that we can't do, we'll tell them that's not in our capability standpoint, but you can call this company and they can help you out because this is what they specialize in.
Okay. So you have other leads for for certain clients that you can't necessarily help. You have leads for them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. Cool. So we're going to take a short break and then we'll get back and do our game segment, which I think will be a fun one. And yeah, we'll be right back.
You're listening to Crime Uncovered.
All right, we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to get to our game segment here with Chris. And I briefed him a little bit on what it was, but he's going to have to name which code names, or he's going to have to say which code names that he thinks were real. And I'll give him a list of people, and he'll tell me which code name he thinks was correct among the choices that I give him. So
Come
first,
on, Sam, you can test me now.
All right, Chris, are you ready for it? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. So Pope John Paul II, was his code name Halo or Angel Wing?
I'm gonna go Halo.
That is correct.
Yes.
All right. So second, we got the first. That was a little easy one. First one's it gets harder. All right. Prince Charles, was he known as the Unicorn or the Ironed Shoelace?
Unicorn.
Yes. All right. Did you already know that one?
I did kind of know that.
Man, okay. All right. All right. Hillary Clinton is our next one.
Okay.
Which was her code name? Hot Pepper or Evergreen?
Oh, that was an easy one. That's Evergreen.
Oh man. All right. All right. All right. Maybe we're getting easier along the list.
Just because I was the reason why I was in the Secret Service when the Clintons were, my first year in the Secret Service was their last year in office, and I worked with them. They were former presidents too. So.
Did you ever hear anybody refer to her as Hot Pepper?
No.
Okay. All right. All right. Maybe I thought there was some insider thing going on. Maybe not. All right. Our next is Ted Kennedy. Was his code name Sunburn or Sunscreen?
Oh man, this is Senator Ted Kennedy, right?
Yep.
I want to go Sunburn.
Yep, it was Sunburn. Man, you're 4 for 4 right now. I'm not making it very hard on you. All right. So, all right, here we go. Government official Ron Nessen.
Oh, now you're reaching.
All right. Lobster bisque or clam chowder?
Is there a none of the above?
Nope.
Okay.
It's one of these.
Who was it again, Sam?
That was Ron Nessen.
Ron Nessen.
You don't have your phone over there looking up these answers, do you?
No. I'm actually trying to think. So I'm gonna go with what was it, clam chowder?
Clam chowder or lobster bisque?
Clam chowder.
Dang it, Chris, man, you're killing it. I thought that one might have stumped you. And because you knew Hillary Clinton so well, I'm thinking you might know this one. Edith Wilson, Woodrow Wilson's wife.
Oh my goodness, come on.
All right, this is your last one, so if you get it, you're perfect. Grandma or Mama Bird?
I'm going to go, so this is why, and I'll tell you my secret why. So I'm going to go with Grandma.
That is correct.
And I'll tell you why,
Man.
Sam.
All right.
So this is my process of elimination.
Okay.
In giving code words, especially in the service, we always kept it at one word or something very simple or that rhymed.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense. I made it a little easier on you.
You did. One of the things that we would always do, and just a little kind of insight, would be whatever president came in, we'd give them names, a list of names, but all started with a certain letter. So like when George H.W. Bush came into office, his code name was Timberwolf, and everything. So the whole family had a T. And so when President Bush 43 came in, they kept that same mantra of all the T's, because, even when George H.W. Bush was in office, George W. Bush, who was his son, had a code name too.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah.
So is that usually how it works? Is the family as well? They also have the code name. Maybe it's not as invasive.
They fall under Secret Service protection. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
Well,
that was a good game. I appreciate that.
all right. Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, you showed your talents pretty well. I gotta say.
that Edith Wilson one was. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna throw a Rich into this one here.
Yeah, I tried to get it mixed up with the grandma or mama. So we'll see. But yeah, well, Chris, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. That will end our game segment. And it was a great conversation. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys out there, the listeners, enjoyed it too. Chris, is there anything you'd like to say about Torchstone, what you do in your daily life, or just some advice for the listeners out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at Torchstone, we're a risk management company, and we really specialize in not only executive protection, threat intelligence, but we also do embedded services, and we really kind of help the clients mitigate their risks. But just kind of a quick piece of advice, if you're looking to get into a federal agency or any type of law enforcement, make sure, first of all, go, school degrees, number one. And then find you a path that you're happy with and an agency that you want to join. I did a lot of research, even back in high school. I did a lot of research of not only the FBI, the DEA, ATF, Secret Service, and I found that the Secret Service was going to be a good fit for me, and that's how I kind of went through my career. I joined the police department in Houston, did that for 3 years, and then went and applied and had my federal career before I came out to the private sector.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate you giving that advice, and I'm sure it will help some people out there. So again, this is episode 4 of Crime Uncovered. Thanks so much for tuning in, and Chris, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
You got it, Sam. Anytime.
All right. Tune in next time, and yeah, we'll catch you later.
You're listening to Crime Uncovered.